Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us at Hope Online. How well do you know your neighbors? Whether they live next door, down the street, or even around the block. How well do you actually know them? Well, in my community, something big happened 7 months ago. There was a large fire, and I want you to check out some footage from it.
Good evening, John and Karen. So firefighters are still out here working on this fire. You can see them scattered all over this mobile home park, and these strong winds are just not helping. You see firefighters up there on the roof. We have at least 20 fire engines here working to get all of this put out. And the entire mobile home park was evacuated and surrounding schools as well. And CAL FIRE says 2 firefighters have suffered non-life-threatening injuries, and one of the mobile homes was completely destroyed, and 4 other homes have been damaged, one of them outside of the park. I did get to talk to one of the residents earlier who says she saw a fire happen this morning, doesn't know how it happened or how it started.
Cops came and everybody said to run. I don't know why run. That panicked me. I'm scared. I love where I live. I love everything about it, and I just don't want to lose that.
So we have so many concerned residents here, and the firefighters are here answering their questions. I mean, there's still so much that we don't know. CAL FIRE has not reported what caused this fire, and we'll still be here finding out answers for you. But Karen and John, I mean, there's still so much that we're still trying to find out at this moment.
And we did hear from the one woman there that said she was told to run. What else do you know about evacuations? How did they go for nearby schools?
Yeah, so there's 2 schools nearby that were evacuated. It was Palm Desert Charter School and Abraham Lincoln Elementary. Both schools did evacuations. They took their kids outside of the school to the fields and evacuated them safely. And then parents were told to pick them up off of Rutledge Way.
8 homes were deemed unlivable. There was 26 people living in those 8 homes. It took a fire for me to know my neighbors, and I had lived there for a year and a half. I'm a Jesus follower. I should know the people that I see every day. When it comes to well-being with our community, how well are we actually doing? And that's the question for today. That's what we will be investigating. We're in the middle of a series called 6 Essentials of Well-Being. We've looked at our spiritual well-being, our physical, vocational, and last week we looked at our social well-being. Today, we're going to look at how we're doing with our community well-being. I think that when we were kids, we knew people in our community better than we do now. Going out in the community to play until the street lights came on or the sun was setting, whichever one came first. Growing up has definitely changed the way that we interact with our community, right? We're busy. We often have a habit of sitting back and letting life just happen for years, sometimes even decades. We fill every moment of time we have with things we either must do or want to do. We wake up, get ready for work, get the kids ready for school, and off we go about our day. We leave work, get the kids, have dinner, check homework, get ready for work, and redo it all again tomorrow. This is our world. What directly affects us right now? We have our routines down, but if we think about it, how often do we interact with our community? I bet some people in here are wondering, why does it even matter? I have my church community. One answer to that question can be scary. Sometimes it is going into the world and telling people about Jesus, just like the Great Commission. Well, for one, if we stay in this routine, life can and will become stagnant. I think everyone will agree that COVID didn't help us with this at all. If anything, the pandemic taught us how to isolate better. It made it not a rude thing to isolate and ignore, but a safe thing. It broke our sense of community. It brought emotional and psychological frustration into our lives, or maybe magnified it. It made it even harder to connect. But we all know it's needed more now than ever before. God created us for community. But what does community look like? And who are the people that make up our community? Jesus answered these questions by explaining a story. His story identifies who our neighbor is and what is our responsibility. Jesus' story is a parable called the Good Samaritan. It's found in Luke 10:25 through 37. and let's take a look at it. And behold, a lawyer stood up and put him to the test, saying, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said to him, What is written in the law? How do you read it? And he answered, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And he said to him, You have answered correctly. Do this, and you will live. Okay, so loving God and loving our neighbor, this will get us eternal life. Let's keep going. But he, the lawyer, desiring to justify himself, said to Jesus, And who is my neighbor? Jesus replied, A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance, a priest was going down that road. Let's pause right there. The verse said this man was half dead. This man was so lucky that a priest happened to be walking by. Of course he would help him, right? I hope if I was half dead and Derek was walking by, that he would help me. Let's see what happens next. It says, And when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him. Now let's pause again. It's so hard to believe that such a religious person would just overlook someone in so much need, right? A man of God just happened to be there, but he chose to do nothing. But thank God, it's this man's lucky day, because another was passing, a Levite. This was like a helper in the temple, another religious man. Surely he would help this traveler. But the verse continues, and it says, So likewise, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. Again, this man was overlooked. How can this be possible? Men who follow God, that have dedicated their lives to him, just walk right by with no compassion for this man's life. Let's see what lies ahead for our poor dying traveler. But a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and he saw him. He had compassion. He went to him. He bound up his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he set him on his own animal and brought him to an inn and took care of him. Finally, someone had stopped going about their day to stop and help this person. Not just anyone, but a Samaritan. To us, this may seem like no big deal, but to the audience that Jesus is speaking to, this would have been the dramatic end scene of the new Top Gun movie. The unexpected had happened. This man stopped his busy day and helped his fellow human. But there's more to this story. Let's check it out. And the next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I will repay you when I come back. This man knew the other man had nothing. He had obviously been robbed and beaten. So expecting nothing in return, he gave. He helped. He showed this man compassion. Why did this man stop and help? Maybe he had been robbed before and was shown the same compassion. Or maybe he's paying it forward because someone helped him. The same is true with us, right? For me, I made a terrible mistake growing up that impacted me well into my adulthood. God showed me that my terrible mistakes could still be a part of his plan. He showed me that he wanted me to help others who were struggling with similar circumstances. But as for the travelers in this parable, we will not know why he chose to stop, other than just to help. After this parable, Jesus says something awesome to the lawyer, and this is what he says. Which of these 3 do you think proved to be a neighbor to the man who fell among the robbers? He said, The one who showed mercy. And Jesus said to him, You go and do likewise. Jesus was telling this lawyer to go forward with his life, treating anyone in his path with compassion and mercy. All 3 of these men did not know the man who was robbed, but yet one still chose to help. I would like to think that the Samaritan was a person who was healthy when it came to his community well-being, because people who are healthy and well-being look beyond the physical and focus on the spiritual. Jesus was not just telling the lawyer to go and show mercy and compassion to those around him. He's calling each of us to do this even when it seems hard. For example, how many of you have a loud neighbor? So when we have that disruptive neighbor, how can we be merciful? How can we not focus on the physical, which is being reactive and telling them to be quiet from our backyard to theirs, and choose to focus on the spiritual. Can you imagine if Jesus was up on the cross and was like, you know what? Humanity doesn't deserve this. I changed my mind. This is too hard. What does God want you to do when it has to do with your community? It was easy when we were kids to go play and be nice to others, right? But as adults, what does this look like for us now? What does having a healthy and thriving sense of community well-being look like? I think taking 3 steps will be a really, really good start. The first one is see your neighbor. We need to truly see our neighbors. The first 2 men who walked by were religious people, people you would expect to stop and help the hurt traveler. Do your neighbors see you as a religious person? Jesus told this parable for a reason. He wanted them to see their neighbors differently. His point was that our neighbor is anyone around us, not just our fellow believer. For example, how many times have you buddied someone? Hey there, buddy. How's it going? Part of seeing them is knowing their name. It's not intentional if we can't even take the time to learn someone's name. These things that we do can be simple, and helping someone who drops something or helping someone cross the street, you can begin starting to know your neighbor. Take them baked goods. If you're mowing their lawn and you see they haven't had a chance, knock theirs out for them too. Invite them to dinner. Just get to know them. Show mercy and compassion for my neighbors. In the story, we see the Samaritan showing compassion and mercy for the traveler in need. There it is. They had a need. Once you see it, provide for it. This doesn't always mean money. How many times do we see a homeless person and assume that they will use the money we give them unwisely? For me personally, it should not take a fire for me to get to know my neighbors or for me to show compassion and mercy. Jesus was asking the man to do as the Samaritan did, to go and show everyone he encounters mercy and compassion. So how do we do this before there's a massive need? Like I said before, it doesn't always take money. Sometimes it can be as simple as saying hello. It can be as simple as smiling at them. It can be as simple as just showing kindness, even when it's not deserved. And the third one is expect nothing in return. The Samaritan helped the beaten traveler without expecting anything in return. He paid for his stay at a hotel, told the innkeeper if it cost more, spend it, and I will repay you. We need to do the same. When we act, there needs to be no strings attached. You are not helping this person with any kind of personal gain in mind. This needs to be done with love and compassion for our fellow human, and we need to keep that in mind. Look, I know that going into our communities can be hard. Getting to know new people can be hard, and it is scary. If you're not ready to get out there on your own, please go with others that you already know. If you come to Hope, come here and help hand out food in our food pantry. Come with the students every 3rd Saturday of the month, hand out food and pray for those in need in the community. Go to the Narrow Door, help there. Reach out to CVRM, the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission. There are so many opportunities to show the love of Christ, and it can happen anywhere. For example, if it wasn't for Derek volunteering his time being a crossing guard at the elementary school next door, I would not be standing here before you now as a man that God is transforming into a Jesus follower. The truth is, Jesus came here to change the world, to turn how we see everything upside down. But I want to let you know something. You're the tool that he chose to make that happen. So this week, go out there, be the difference. Go, see those around you, show mercy and compassion, and expect nothing in return.